This is assignment C. One of the trickier parts here is at the back of the house where the 1950s era addition was built. If you look on page, this is the second page of handout for assignment C. At the top, step 2, adjust walls at the basement and create the floor slab. The tricky part here is adjusting, for some people at least, and it just depends on your situation, I think, and the method you use. But the tricky part is moving this basement wall so that it creates a notch down at the basement with an overhang up at the first floor. Believe it or not, this is the quirky little addition that was on a house that I used for the basis of this assignment. Okay, so the first method would be to select the wall and dance the endpoints of the, and using tab, drag and tab, and dance the endpoints of the temporary dimension. Then, as of 2011, whenever you select the wall again, the temporary dimension remembers where you have set up its endpoints. So I could change the 4 feet to the correct value, and let me just drag over here. There's the handout if that shows up. The correct value here would be 8'5", 8 space 5. And in my case, that wall moved just fine without moving the brick walls above. So you can see that's still intact. But for some of you, that may not happen. Let me show you a couple of other options you can use. First of all, I'm going to put the dimension string in here again as a permanent dimension this time. And I can say, okay, instead I'm going to use that dimension, 8'5". That's really no different than using the temporary. It's just a little easier to follow because you have your permanent dimension there. Next method would be to select the wall and hit move and say I want to move it from wherever it is up 4'5", which will give me the 8'5". And it says elements will be deleted. In this case, it's deleting the permanent dimension when I use the move command there. That's just how Revit wants to work. So having done that, you'll see that it moved the wall, but not the other wall. That is, let me undo this, because that is because when I hit the move command, I had used the disjoin option. If I don't use the disjoin option, sometimes it drags the brick wall up here along with it. In this case, it did not, but I do want to show you the disjoin option again. Let me just delete that permanent dimension and do it this way. Move, and then to get the disjoin, once you're in the move command, you look on the options bar and check disjoin, and just click anywhere in white space for a starting point, because you know you want to go an even 4'5". So then you type 4 space 5. Quickest way to type feet and inches in Revit is with space. Enter. And because I said disjoin, it disjoined this wall that moved from the endpoints of the other walls that were cleaned up to it at the corners. So now I can use my trim button, which is under modify, or TR for short, and trim this wall to there and this wall to there. And now I have the condition that shows up in 3D. And again, to get these two views side by side, I pulled them up one after the other. Escape out of the trim command. Pulled up one after the other, and then I did WT, and I've actually stretched them a little bit. And then I can control tab because I also have the first floor plan underneath there. So now you can see that those brick walls stayed where they are, and the concrete walls at the basement did not. Now the next action you need to perform to fix this, let me go back to my basement here and see that it's okay. That's the footing I'm seeing here. I thought for a minute that was my concrete wall. Okay, the next thing we need to do is stop these two basement walls from coming all the way up through the floor, because right now the top of the basement foundation wall is at the top surface of the floor, which is level 1. So to do that, I'm going to select both of those walls, hold Control to select the second one. I don't want the whole chain because that would select all the foundation walls. Then I do the attach top base up here on the ribbon. Then I say I want to attach the top, and then per the status bar here, it tells me what to do. Select the roofs or whatever. So I select the floor, actually, is what I'm attaching to. And when I do that, I no longer see the tops of those walls. And if I look at them in the 3D view here, I'm going to peek underneath here. See how they now stop at the underside. Those two do at the underside of this floor. So then what needs to happen next is that these two brick walls, this one and this one, need to drop down so that the base of those walls comes down about a foot, and I'm just going to make it an even -1 foot so that the bottom of those walls comes down to cover up the edge of that floor so it's not exposed. So I'm going to select this wall and that wall with Control. I go into the Properties palette and I say I want the base constraint still measured from the first floor, but I want the base offset to be -1 foot. And then when I apply that or move into the drawing window, it's warning me that I've got walls that overlap. I'm going to look at that in a second. I just want to make a mental note of that. If I expand the message, I can see specifically which walls. There are two different walls. One of them is a 13-inch rubble foundation. The other is a brick and plaster. I don't want to delete those. I just want to resolve it in a minute. So there's what happens. The two walls drop down like they should. But now let's look in 3D here a little more closely. I've actually got two walls that overlap just like what the message was telling me. And whenever you have two surfaces that are shared by the same plane, or a plane that is shared by two surfaces, you see kind of a little bit of cross imaging there, almost like it dances or shimmers on top of each other. So the way we fix this, and this little trick, is we need to join geometry, and because we're joining wall to wall, whichever wall I pick first is the one that dominates the overlap. So I go to Modify, Join Geometry. I pick the brick wall first because I want it to win out. I'm sorry, Escape. I picked it wrong, didn't I? I want to join geometry. I pick the stone foundation wall first because I want it to win out. Then I pick the brick wall. So now, once they're joined, there's only one winner of the overlapping region volume of space, and that is the stone rubble wall. And that is how the bottom of the first floor notch and the basement notch should look in assignment C. I'm going to pause or stop, make a new recording for what happens from the first to the second floor.